Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Today, we are talking about how to be seen, how to allow yourself to be seen. It's very easy and convenient, especially as women, to sit in the background, let everyone else do all the work, and hope to lie behind the not the curtains, not the covers, but to just go with the flow and not really step out and be seen. The first time I thought about this issue, was when I read Lean In by, I've forgotten her name, but I'll put it in the notes. When I read the book Lean In, it's the first time that I saw a woman talking about the things that I myself had been going through especially in the work experience. I've been working, I'm 45. I've been working for quite some time. And this realization that these things don't just happen to me was earth-shattering. It was really great. And I'll tell you a story actually. One of the situations that really touched me was when I was very young. I was an intern. I was just starting out in work, and where I was working, there's all this. It's not where I was working, it's a setup I was in. The society I was in had these patriarchal viewpoints. So where I was working, within the group of interns I was with, there were more men than women. I think in that particular, we were in a meeting, and in that particular meeting, I was the only female intern and the youngest female present. So in fact, I think I was the only female present. And I was in a group of many men, including my colleague interns, and there was the question of serving the tea. It was at a point when tea would be served in offices, so like a teapot was brought in, and the person who brought it in, it wasn't their duty to serve the tea. So the expectation would then have turned to me to be the one serving the tea. So I paused there because I was telling this story once to someone, and what they asked me was that the expectation of the group, or was that the expectation in my own head? And I found it mind-blowing because I sat in that meeting and I couldn't concentrate. I was determined not to serve the tea. I felt that it was so unfair that my gender called me upon to do this task, which is serving tea to everyone. And it was not so much that serving the tea in and of itself was anything. It was this delegation of my gender to this role of being the one who needs to take care of everybody else and be the one who needs to serve the tea. And I sat there and I was super uncomfortable, and I was sweating under the pits, and I was just trying to keep a straight face and willing myself to not budge, not serve the tea, stand up for myself and not serve the tea. And I didn't serve the tea. But what happened, and the reason that I was touched, was that the convener of the meeting, who was the one who was talking, first of all, he was addressing us, and he was the most senior person there. He took it upon himself to come over to where the tea was and served everybody. And I was so touched. I felt, the word is not vindicated. I felt seen, actually. Which is our topic. I felt seen. I felt as though he had somehow managed to step into my shoes, understand the discomfort that I was feeling, understand that from the societal perspective, this is something that might be not required, but expected of me. And then use that opportunity to teach everybody there that these expectations can be changed. We do not need to do things in the same way they've always been done. And there is room for the greatest to be the smallest, as it were. And aren't those the teachings of Christ himself in washing the feet of his disciples? So I felt, I remember that day. Usually when I speak about it, I cry. It brings a tear to my eye, and I don't think that this leader who was there understood what that simple act meant for me. And I share this story now. Maybe it will inspire someone to do something similar for someone else. Back to our conversation. We're talking about how to be seen. And the number one point I've written here is to build self-esteem. Self-esteem is the belief in yourself, the belief that you can do things. And it sounds much more abstract than it really is. Building self-esteem is being able to look back at things that you've done before and realize that you've done it before. You've managed. So if you have a new task in front of you and you're a little concerned, you're not sure. And that's something that I was having recently. I had a new task in front of me and I was a little concerned. I was wondering, will I be able to do this? Is it going to be too much? Am I sure? Then I've looked back, and this was at work again. I looked back at my career and thought, chick, you've been doing this always. This is absolutely something that will go, what's the word? And not unnoticed, but so easily for you because it almost comes naturally to you and you've been doing it for such a long time. So sometimes it's the vision. We might at times lose that vision to be able to see that we're okay. We're okay, we can do it, we're fine. And if we believe in ourselves, if we can see our past achievements, our past experiences that we've managed something similar before, we are better placed to relax and step up onto the podium and be seen. Yeah. The other big one is about other people. And here I'll go back to this story and that comment that I got. This view, in that situation, I thought that everyone was looking at me. I felt, I understood. It was in my soul. The reason I could not concentrate in the meeting after the tea came into the room was because I was sure that all the other participants in that meeting were looking to me and wondering why I wasn't serving the tea. So the comment I got from this person that made me relook at that situation is this realization that everyone has their own problems. It sounds silly, but everyone is the main character of their own movie. Everyone sees themselves as a central player. So more likely than not, the other people in the room were thinking about whatever is going on in their lives. Maybe they don't like tea and they're wondering, oh, no, there's tea. Now I'm going to be forced to take tea. I don't want tea. And here I was agonizing and thinking that everybody is looking at me. I'm there. I'm the center of attention. And that really isn't the case in just about all situations. When walking down the street, there's little likelihood the people you meet as you're walking along are actively thinking about you. But because there's something that you have in mind, if you've worn something that you don't like, actually, that's a very good example. If you have something on that you don't like and someone looks at you, the thought that will cross your mind is that they are looking at you because of this thing that you don't like. And that becomes what's playing in your head and you're thinking, they're so mean. Who does that? Why are they looking at me so badly because they don't like my dress? Who does that? They should have let me be. Meanwhile, they didn't even notice you. They were looking at the scenery. Their eyes hardly paused on you, or even if they did, they almost saw through you. They had their own thoughts about their own outfit that they don't like. This is how the world goes. I wanted to say something else about people. Yes, in every situation, especially when you have this opportunity to be seen, it is good to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Expect good. Because like myself, again, in that situation of the tea, thinking that everybody is completely into the patriarchy and everyone believes that I, as the girl, must be the one who must serve the tea. Whereas that is a teaching that I had myself. That was my upbringing that I am then imposing on them. Expect good. The reason I was so surprised with this leader coming down to serve the tea was, and I say coming down because he was at the head of the table. So I had actually to walk down the room and come to where the tea was, which was actually placed next to me. But anyway, what was that point? Yeah, to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially expecting good. I find that I need to step back sometimes because of everything that goes on in my head. I need to step back and consider people as a clean slate. That these issues that play, there's a lot of conversation that goes on in my head. So that these issues that are at play within the conversations in my head are, it could be, this is new, where are we going, what are we doing, whatever it is that's happening in there. To give this person not to the benefit of the doubt, not to look at the, what do you call them, stereotypes. If there is a stereotype that is usually associated with this person that you're about to meet, and you think, oh no, this is going to happen, just give it a clean slate. Just assume that that person does not fit into that stereotype, and let them prove to you that they do. That usually helps you relax into the situation, because then you're not as concerned, you're not as much in your head, which I think is, yes, get out of your head is one of the next points. Get out of your head and into the experience. In this meeting room, I missed the whole meeting. I don't know what the meeting was about. I was too concerned with what was going on in my head. So get into the experience. Look at the people around you. Instead of waiting to answer, listen to the person who is speaking to you and look at their perspective as an authentic perspective, because it is their worldview, and everyone's worldview deserves to be acknowledged. You don't have to agree with everybody, but at least that's the point of the conversation. If you're speaking to people, it's really good for the person to acknowledge that they have heard what you've said. Yes, and this can be done in many forms. It can be even just through the attention that you see that they're giving you. So if you get out of your head and the conversations happening in there and into the experience, then it's easier for you to be seen, because you're not concentrating about what you'll do wrong, how it will go, what they will think, da-di-da-di-da, all these things that happen. But you're there. You're engaged in what is going on. All right. The other one was intention. That's a good one as well. Why we do what we do has an impact on how we show up. So if you're doing a public speaking gig and your intention is to go there and to prove to everybody, all those people who bullied you when you were young and told you that you could not speak, if your intention is to go, you shall show them that you can, and this is within your space and your ability, then your intention is not really aligned to yourself. You're proving to yourself things that no one needs proven. Yeah, it's never really anyone else that you want to prove to, because those people are probably not there. So you're trying to prove to yourself that you can do this, whereas of course you can. Of course you can. Look at the esteem. You've done it before, more likely than not, whatever it is. And even if it's a new thing, you've done something that has enabled you to be there. If you are doing some public speaking, you've done some homework, you've done some background check about whatever it is that you're speaking about. So you have the stuff. You have the stuff that you're going to say. And the question then becomes how to stop your voice from shaking. But the intention, if your intention is the public speaking event is about something that is dear to you, and this is something that you want to communicate over to the audience, then that's it. That alignment, that I want to call it purity of purpose. That sounds very something. But that alignment, that authenticity, that's the word. This ability to come from yourself and say what it is you want to say, again, removes you from the worry of what everyone else is going to think, what about and if and oh, and there is a real lot of things that one can think about. There's a whole lot of things that could potentially go wrong, including that the earth shall stop spinning. So the point is, the one thing that you're going to pick out is one in so many potential problems, and why pick that one out? Yeah, and if you look at all the potential problems, that means you don't move. That means you don't get out of bed in the morning. Yeah, so intention. Look at the why, and always look at the why until you can land on a reason that is aligned to yourself. By aligned to yourself, I mean something that makes sense to you internally and is not for purposes of seeking external validation. Something that you if it was only you, if there was no one else out there, and there was no social media, there was no nothing, it was just you and your God, and your God asks you, why are you doing this? The answer that you would want to give because how you feel about it again is dependent on why you're doing it. Belaboring that point too much. Okay. Another one. Leaning into discomfort. Oof. Yeah, anything that you're afraid of is likely to be something that has some potential for you. There's something there that interests you, and it's niggling at you. It's telling you that maybe this is something that could be, whether beneficial, at the very least, it could be interesting. And the idea of trying it is what makes you think, but what about my high school? I failed when I tried to do this in high school. How can I do it now? I am scared. I do not want to repeat it. I do not want to be rejected. In fact, the fear of rejection. What if I do this and then everybody who knows me starts laughing at me? And part of this is to lead into that what if. What if they do start laughing at you? At the worst case, you learn that the people that you held dearly as your friends are perhaps not so vested in you. Anyone who points a finger and starts laughing at you, ha ha ha, you've done this, that, and the other, probably has their own insecurities that they're dealing with, and so are happy to be able to have you failing. I put that word in quotes, failing in their eyes, because then they have someone to point at and show, look at them, they failed, ha ha ha, as opposed to maybe they who never do anything, they never move. Because that's the other thing. If we don't lean into what is uncomfortable and what we fear, then we don't progress. We are just stagnating around the same spot. We need this jostle, the push, to be able to do something different. And it could be anything. It could be moving towns. It could be changing cars. It could be, I don't know, whatever it is. Marriage, it could be getting married, it could be getting into a new relationship, getting out of a relationship. All these things that we do, that we fear, they move us. And it's not to say we'll always be correct, but being wrong is part of the learning process. When you do something and you're wrong, you've learned something, as opposed to not doing anything at all and remaining exactly where you were and, learning nothing. So discomfort, it's even as I say it, I can feel it in my tummy. This idea of leaning into discomfort is uncomfortable, but you practice it. You start with small things, something small that makes you uncomfortable. In my example, I used to feel very uncomfortable if I went to a bar. If I went to a bar and did not have a drink in my hand, I think I felt that people were judging me. I don't know why. I felt that people were judging me, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I felt that this drink, whatever it is that's in my hand, even a glass of water, would give me permission to stand my ground. Then I questioned it. I asked myself, what is it about occupying my hands that is giving me that boost of confidence? So I just started slowly leaning into the discomfort. I'd go there and get the glass, whatever in my hand. Then when that one was over, just let it be. And inside it felt like, oh man, it felt like, Again, I thought everybody is here looking at this girl without a drink in her hand. They're judging me. But I just sat. I allowed myself to sit there in that discomfort. And before I knew it, now it's not something that crosses my mind at all. If ever I am in that situation, and now it's anywhere, if I'm in a restaurant, if I'm wherever it is that I am, if I'm out in public, I don't feel the need of having my hands occupied as much as I did then. Now I know that the people who I thought were busy talking about me and judging me and looking at me really aren't. They have their own things going on. So that's a benefit of doing something that's uncomfortable. It helps you face it and be able to do it again and again. And small incremental steps are a way to get there. Okay, then the last one I have here is to zoom out and look at the grand scheme of things. I like this author. His name is Michael A. Singer. He's written The Untethered Soul and books about being untethered. And and part of what he says is that you are standing on a planet that is suspended in the middle of nowhere, just spinning on its axis. His point is the planet can fall. Everything is so precariously aligned, but also his bigger point is you're such a tiny little dot in the grand scheme of things. He says, look at the Big Bang that created everything that we have today. The way things were aligned, the sun is perfectly set up, the moon is perfectly set up, the trees grow when they grow, all these things that happen without you. And here you are worried about something that is so inconsequential in the grand scheme of humanity, leave alone the earth. So it sounds not fatalistic, but I like it because it helps you see that whatever it is that you're worrying about now is not likely something that's going to worry you. You'll even remember next year, depending, of course, on what it is. Try and think back to the things that were disturbing you on this very date a year ago. Or forget even 2 years, even 6 months ago. The things that disturb us, it's very... To keep up the conversation in the head, it's very easy to have all these things that worry us. But then the things that worry us in the grand scheme of things are not that big. Yeah. Those are the notes I had for you. As always, I highly appreciate your time. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope you've enjoyed the session. Bye-bye.